Hey everyone, it's Abby. Today I wanted to create a fun dress to wear in my regular life. I've had this green burned velvet from the LA Fashion District that I've been wanting to make a dress out of for a while now. I had to buy a nude colored lining because the burned out parts are a little bit see-through, and I also got a pattern. So let's get sewing. I'm going to be using a modified version of McCall's 8195 to create this dress. I had some inspiration that I found on Pinterest to go off of, so I will be modifying it a bit to be more what I want. I start with the doubled lining fabric. I want the skirt to be a lot longer than the pattern has it, so I trim off a bit and then I use the ruler to measure a longer hem. I figure out where to place the rest of my pieces on the lining fabric. I pin and cut out my lining pieces, adding some modifications for height as I go. I cut the sleeve piece into a shorter length. I will be gathering this into a puffed sleeve with a ruffle instead as well. I also want pockets. The pattern has them, but I want them slightly bigger and more square like my historical pockets. I pin and cut the waist piece on the fold. I clip all the notch markings in. Now it's time to figure out how best to use my velvet fabric. I have limited fabric, so I can't be too fussy about the nap direction, but I have to figure out how to lay it out so it's going to lay similarly on both sides while conserving fabric. I've cut the skirt pieces out. That was only one layer, so I cut the second set of skirt pieces out here. I double my fabric and lay out the rest of my dress pieces, being sure to account for the nap direction of the velvet. I pin and cut my pieces out, all but the top piece that I will be modifying, and the waist piece that needs to be on the fold. I fold, pin, and cut the waist piece out. Now I need to modify the bust part of the dress. I want it to be kind of pleated, so I'll be using pattern paper to pleat a new pattern piece. I trace the original piece to start. I also have to account for the dart. I create paper pleats and continue to pleat and mark until I'm happy. I cut out the new pattern piece. I pin this piece to my doubled velvet fabric. I cut that piece out. I pin and machine sew the upper bodice seams using a straight stitch. The fabric is a bit stretchy, but it won't affect the seams as they don't need to stretch. I pin and machine sew the lining upper bodice seams. I add a small stay stitch to the side of the sleeve lining and cut a notch to show where the end of the seam will be. I pin and machine sew the sleeve lining seam together, stopping at the notch I created earlier. I did the same to the outer sleeves off camera. I machine sew darts to my upper bodice lining pieces. I pin and machine sew the outer and lining sleeves together at the hem. I understitch that hem along the lining. I turn the sleeve right side out, pin and machine stitch a row of stitches about 1.5 inches from the hem. This will be the sleeve ruffle. I machine stitch another row 1/2 inch away from the first row to create a channel for the elastic to go through. I fold under the raw edges and pin the upper elastic sleeve channel. This is also the shoulder strap. They are all one piece. I hand sew this in place. I didn't want to use the machine as the velvet is kind of fiddly and hard to push through. I didn't like how the sleeve hem was sitting and pressing wouldn't have helped, so I decided to whip stitch along the inside of the lining to flatten the hem better. The stitches don't show on the outside as the velvet hides the matching thread. I use a safety pin to insert my sleeve and shoulder elastic piece, pinning on both sides to keep it in place. I cut the threads on the inside of the cuff elastic channel and insert the elastic to create the sleeve cuff ruffle. I pin the elastic and test the size. I bring it in a little and test again. I like this a bit better. I trim the elastic and hand sew it to create my sleeve cuff. In order to get the upper bodice to work, I need to pleat my velvet fabric. I pin the velvet to the lining along the seam. Using the pattern I created, I slowly pin each pleat, sometimes moving them around until I get them how I want them to look and to fit the lining. Now that the pleats are in place, I need to pin the sleeve on. I pin the whole sleeve seam to the velvet upper bodice piece. I hand baste the sleeve seam to keep it in place. With that basted on, I can now sandwich the sleeve between the velvet and the lining. I pin the lining so all raw edges will end up between the layers. I also pin the front of my bodice together. I machine sew that seam up. I trim that seam down and clip the curves. I hand understitch along the lining side of that seam. I pin and machine sew the lower bodice pieces together. I did the lining seams off camera. I press the seams of the lower bodice pieces flat. I press the seams on the upper bodice. It's time to attach the upper bodice to the waist pieces. I pin the two fabrics of the upper bodice together to keep them from moving. I lay the upper bodice along the velvet lower bodice seam and pin in place, making sure to start from the center point, matching the seams. Off camera, I pinned the other side. I hand basted that seam together. Off camera, I pinned the lining to sandwich that seam. I machine sew that up. I trim that seam down. I press that seam flat. I serged the edges of my pocket pieces. I pin and machine sew the front seam, attaching the lining to the velvet. I understitch that seam along the lining. I turned the front skirt seam to the outside and machine sew close to the edge. I pin and machine sew the pocket to the side edges of the skirt pieces. I pin and sew the side seams up, turning and sewing the pocket at the same time, according to the pattern. I placed a pin where the bottom of the pocket will end and sew the rest of the seams starting from there. I machine sew the side skirt lining below the pocket as well. I trimmed one side of the lining seam and pinned to hide raw edges. I machine fell that seam up. I lay out the skirt seams and press them. I mark the center spot with a pin. I pin the skirt waist to the bodice waist seam, matching the seams. I make sure to overlap the front skirt pieces. I will be adding some buttons along there. I machine sew that seam up. I machine sew another line of stitches next to the last one. I trim that seam. I hand sew twill tape to hold the pocket to the waistband. I turn under the raw edges of the bodice lining and pin. I hand sew that seam down. I pin the zipper to the back and hand sew in place. No way was I going to try and machine sew that up. I pin and machine sew the back velvet skirt seam. I machine stitch a line 1/4 inch from the edge of the skirt lining hem. I fold the lining to the inside along the first row of stitches and machine sew close to the edge. I fold under the raw edges and machine sew the hem of the lining. I covered plastic buttons with larger circles of the velvet. I hand sew the front skirt about an inch away from the other line of stitches to kind of look like a shirt placket. I hand sewed buttons all down the front of the dress. I hand fell raw skirt lining seams. I pin the raw skirt velvet edges under and hand sew those in place. I cut the fabric to the edge of the zipper and hand stitch that to hide the edges under the zipper. I pin the velvet skirt hem and hand sew in place. I tried it on at that point off camera and realized that the lining was showing below the velvet. I had to trim that up, and I hand sewed the new lining hem. And there we have it, a completed burned velvet puffed sleeve dress. Thank you for joining me today as I made my burnout velvet Celtic knot dress. I love how it came out, and it'll be great to wear for date nights and just in general. If you liked this video and want to see more sewing and costume videos, remember to subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Happy sewing!